Labour productivity measures the amount a worker produces over a given time. For example, a worker in a factory may make 15 phone cases per hour. Businesses need to know how productive their workforce is, as changes in labour productivity can have a huge impact on a business. The output per worker is a very important measure of a business's performance. It has a direct impact on the cost of producing a unit, a good. Productivity is the amount of output that can be produced per worker in a given time period. If productivity increases, then assuming wages are unchanged, the labour cost per unit will decrease. A business may measure labour productivity as output per unit of input per time period. So the amount of output, the work, the goods that have been produced, that a worker produces during their shift, their input. The formula used for calculating labour productivity is output per time period divided by the number of employees. You need to find out how much is being produced and divide it by the number of workers. The answer will typically be in units. Let's have a look at a little scenario. A business employs 80 workers to produce 8,000 shoes per week. Calculate the labour productivity. So it's 8,000 because that's the output per time period, divided by the number of employees, 80, and that gives us 100 shoes per week. The higher the labour productivity, the better the workforce is performing. As labour productivity increases, the cost per unit will fall. Factors influencing productivity. Businesses will want to improve productivity over time. A business can use these factors to influence productivity. Not all will apply to each business. The level of investment in modern equipment, motivation of workers, labour flexibility, education and training, and working practices. The level of investment in modern equipment. Many businesses improve labour productivity by buying new machinery. By investing in sophisticated machinery and improving production processes, this may result in the productivity of the production increasing. Much of this machinery requires fewer workers than before. An example of this is the use of IT to control machines and processes, and even the introduction of robotics. This means there is less need for production line workers. However, this is likely to result in contributing to high levels of unemployment, which may damage the reputation of the business. Motivation of workers. If motivation of the labour workforce is high, then they're much more likely to be productive. Motivation can be increased in many ways, such as ensuring the working conditions are right, and also by designing jobs with workers' needs in mind. Businesses may use incentives in order to motivate the workforce. They may use financial incentives such as piece rates and bonuses. For workers that are not motivated by financial incentives, they may use non-financial incentives such as flexible working. This would mean that the workers would have a choice of how and when they work, which would allow workers to balance their home and work life more effectively, and link to them being more productive when they are at work. However, encouraging workers to produce more by offering incentives to increase output could mean the quality suffers or more waste is produced. Labour flexibility. Labour can be more flexible if workers are trained to work in different job roles. For example, in a department store such as John Lewis, workers may be trained to work in the children's clothing section. But perhaps when there is a busy period, they may work in another department they're also trained to work in, such as the home furniture department. In addition to this, with labour flexibility, some businesses may decide to offer flexi time, which means workers can choose the hours they work within limits. Education and training. A business may need to introduce more or better training to the workforce. A business that has a well-skilled and highly trained workforce would mean that they are working faster. There is less wastage of resources and fewer mistakes will be made. However, some businesses are reluctant to invest in training as employees may leave the business and work for another business once they have been trained and gained those skills. Working practices. This involves the way that work is organised and managed, as it can impact on productivity. Working practices refers to the methods and processes that workers undertake within the workplace. For example, if the supplies are at a great distance from the machinery that will be used to manufacture them, then this can slow the process down. So the managers in a business will need to consider things like this. They will need to consider layout and other processes which would improve productivity. There is a link between productivity and competitiveness. If productivity can be raised in a business, then this means that they will be able to produce more output with the same level of resources. This would mean that the cost for the business will be lower and that the business can charge lower prices than their competitors or have a higher profit margin. If they were to offer lower prices, then this would lead to the business being more competitive and may enable them to gain more customers and increase brand awareness, which may pose a threat to the competitors. Competitiveness is not just about costs. The likes of Jaguar Land Rover have enjoyed high profits for years as customers simply want to own a Jaguar and are willing to pay high prices if necessary. This means that the price elasticity of JLR cars is low and therefore neither prices or costs matter that much. If UK businesses can be more productive, then they may become more competitive in international markets. Businesses will continue to monitor labour productivity relative to their competitors and, where possible, try to increase it. Do check out these videos as they are the ones that YouTube thinks you should watch next. Thanks for watching.